guys, I am Soraya the Tarot Reader. Again, just a reminder, just in case you don't know who I am. I am a professional tarot reader. I also work privately. I work for platforms in the UK, the US. I'm very, very privileged to work for some absolutely awesome sites and for myself. I've spent the last couple of months really trying to give my knowledge where possible in some kind of logical fashion, I suppose, in respect to trying to um, get people to understand that it really isn't such a massive leap to go from a hobbyist into a professional reader. I think, kind of covering over things I've said before, I think professionalism is really important, being genuine and knowing your craft. A couple of things to mention. I know I just did a video yesterday, but I had another email today, and there's a lady that I've been really helping with kind of moving into the private reads, and she'd mentioned yet again that her biggest fear was getting the general read. Now, for anyone who may not understand why that is fearful for a reader, it's because I think the common misconception of tarot readers is that we predict the future, do all the talking, ask no questions, say nothing, and the customer says nothing, and we just blurt it all out. In reality, that's not the case. I think you'll find the readers who have been doing this for a very long time are very interactive in their reads. They ask for context, they ask for validations, and the reason they do that is because we know that the more context we have, the better we can hone in on the cards. That experience that I've talked about previously, by understanding the numerology, understanding the cards in their positioning, whether or not it's in a past, in a you now, in a blockages, in a future. All these things matter, and there's so many cheats about how to learn the tarot, but I think it's still really important to have a really good grasp on what the cards mean, in which positioning, and how to read the card away from its root, which is its meaning on its own, and what its essence is. And I think that's when we start going into the questions. And I'm not talking about Barnum statements, that sinister, awful way that people ask people a roundabout question, which is very generic, and you can yield a yes or no answer to it. It's awful, and it sounds awful. So that's not what I mean. I've touched on before about good, genuine questioning techniques to try and help build rapport with your customers. But yeah, going back to the general, you can always say to your clients, especially if they're paying for a limited amount of time, that when we do a general read, as much as personally it's my favourite read to do because there's more interest in it for me, because I get to kind of keep my skills going. For a client, they may only have maybe 20-30 minutes, and time is money, and they want answers. So you can always say, look, we can go here, but the cards will take us where it wants to go. The energy will go exactly where the cards want to take us, and won't necessarily answer your question, because the card's priority of what's most important message to bring is not necessarily what the client's priority is. Or if they still don't know, you can say, is there anything that keeps you up at night, anything that you want validations on? We can go through that. And if they're still really, really wanting to go into the general, it's fine. If you know your cards, then a general reading shouldn't be something that is frightening. I would say you just need to do a very simple spread. I always start with the you now, or the situation card, which just gives us kind of a nod to the person in their situation now, and maybe look at any areas that need to be addressed in their life, any obstacles they might face, and the key to a happier outcome, or certainly a step up from where they are right now. That usually is enough to bring out information in order for someone to at least then have an idea of something they might want to talk about. Or if they're still not sure and they're still happy to go with the guidance of the cards, you can use things like your majors if they come out, because they're significant things in life to acknowledge. And you can use the suits. So for example, if you get you know for example, lots of ones, then you know that's motivation, things that maybe to look at about what someone may want to look at. If you've got swords, that could be communication or lack of communication. If you get pentacles, it might be something to do with work and career that the cards want to take you, or of course the cups one, which is the love and relationship. And again, if you understand your upright and reversals, you would know the difference between something being good or bad. The numerology, oh, yeah, you'll always hear me. That's something I really do feel is necessary to learn, as well as the essences of the cards, meaning what they mean in different positions in the spread. Because a card in isolation, as its root, means one thing, but if it's positioned in the past, present, you now, obstacles, blockages, future, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. So if you have honed in on them skills, the general really shouldn't be a problem. And of course, don't forget intuition, because that is, of course, something else that will help us. But as I mentioned in videos and yesterday's, intuition can sometimes not be there when we need it, or not be as strong as we need it to be, or our guides or whatever our divination tools are may not be there with us all the time. You know, I was just conversing with a friend yesterday about saying that my cards were giving me jip. You know, they weren't necessarily happy to be dealt yesterday. They were coming out in chunks instead of coming out in singulars, and I can always tell when maybe they need a break or I need a break. So there's all these things to obviously consider. But yeah, don't be so fearful of the general. And yeah, I think I touched on there, and I'll just go over that once more again. Is I think it's important when you're reading with someone to set out the intention of what a read is. These common misconceptions are the fact that we as readers will just give a lot of information, not ask any questions, and that really isn't the reality of it. I have had in earlier years, for maybe people who don't know me, go, oh well, your reading's different, you don't do it the same as other people. And I think, well, yeah, because in my opinion, I'm doing it in the most logical format, and I'm trying to get as much accuracy as I possibly can in the kindest, most ethical way, I suppose. Um, and I think if I give that to people in advance, so I am an empath. I do pick up a lot on people's intentions, emotions, vibrations, what they're feeling, what they're going to do next. But I also read tarot. I talk to a customer through the fact that I like to get the customers to choose the cards. I also tell the customers what the cards are, because a lot of the people that I read for are actually learning the tarot, or sit at home with their own deck. And it actually opens up conversation how if my definition of what the tower means, for example, in a particular positioning isn't what they would think because their book says something else. It's a good conversation opener, and it's also an opportunity for me to kind of impart some wisdom or information on them, which is always good, because then they're leaving feeling like they've got more to that situation. But yeah, and obviously pointing out that you will be asking questions along the way, but it's not trying to kind of go, you know, trying to get as much information as possible. It's context is key, and we need validations. And the more we've got an idea of the situation, we don't need to know the whole scenario. We just need to have an idea. Like if somebody's had an argument, we don't need to know what the argument was about. It's good to understand that there has been crossed words, because then the cards make more sense. And yeah, I think if you're going through the cards in a logical way, then there should be no reason why a general should be something you struggle with. If I've not mentioned this before, because I do kind of just do it off the top of my head, the way I read is very simple. Well, I'm saying simple, it might not seem it when you're first starting out, but I read this way. So when I put my spread out, so I've after I spoke to my customer, I asked them what their question is. I will then choose headers. Those headers will then have cards put into position. I turn one card over at a time. When I read that card, I will read the number of the card first. Then I'll read whether the card is upright or reversed. And then I'll look at what the question is that we've asked. And then, depending on all those three things, I will then make my decision on what my interpretation of that card is. Then I'll turn over, turn over, turn over. Sometimes I think when you look at the whole spread, it can actually tarnish your read. It's preference though. It's entirely up to you. But that's my way I read, and where I found I have the most accuracy from. So yeah, I hope that was of interest. Any other questions? Like I say, I get emails all the time asking questions. I did try and wrap it all up in yesterday's, but I thought as the general one comes up a lot on this wonderful Friday the 13th, I thought I would just mention it again. So yeah, anything else you want to know, guys, just let me know. All right, peace out, guys. Love and light.